The Texas Longhorns finally play a football game this week, y'all. And I did some investigating on the ops, so you don't have to.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Laci, aka Laced Up, along with Jonathan Davis, your host, to bring you today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. It's officially Quinn Ewers Day until kickoff, y'all. And I know we all have pretty high expectations for the season, just kind of as a whole. But after doing a little bit of a deeper dive, a little bit of a deeper set of research, I kind of wanted to start off today's show by just telling y'all what I think we can expect to see from Colorado State this upcoming Saturday. Texas fans also have a certain 5-star target that we can look forward to announcing his commitment at the end of this week. And could I really call myself a fanatic if I don't give myself at least a little bit of give myself at least a little bit of a chance to spew some of my hottest takes to finish off today's show? Probably not. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Locked On Longhorns every single day of the week. Please subscribe if you're new here and leave a comment down below letting us know your hottest takes heading into the season. Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Before we get into all the fun stuff, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Gametime. This episode of Locked On Longhorns is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Wow, y'all. I am in such a weird headspace at the moment because I'm kind of stuck in the how in the heck are we already in August, but also feeling like the last little bit of football we got was 8 years ago. So it's just a very weird transition, a very weird spot to be in my brain. But I'm really excited to kick off today's show, just telling you guys exactly what we can expect from the Colorado State Rams this upcoming Saturday. I don't know about y'all, but I personally didn't have a good enough grasp on the Colorado State Rams to actually understand what we were up against. But after doing a little bit of research and everything, I feel like I got a good vibe. So let's just go ahead and get this started. First off, let me start this off by saying I do not expect Colorado State to seriously test us on the interior of the defensive line. I know. That's not necessarily what everyone loves to hear, especially with, week 2 in Ann Arbor in the Big House versus Michigan. That's going to be a game where I definitely feel like it's going to come down to which team is able to successfully run the ball better. So I definitely wish that week 1 was providing us a little bit more of a test. But unfortunately, Colorado State was just not very good running the football in 2023, ranking outside of the top 100 in basically every single rushing metric available. They were 128th in the nation in rushing attempts per game, 116th in average yards per rush. This is just a team that really, really struggled to run the football throughout the majority of last season. They did end up finding a little more success later on when they threw in freshman running back Justin Marshall to tote the rock for him. But at the end of the day, he still only has 3 games of college football experience under his belt. So it's still a very, very new environment for him. He's still fresh meat, like this is still all new to him. And you're facing big bad Texas, like you're facing big bad Texas week 1. So I just don't think their running backs or their offensive line provide the test to the D line running the football that I guess I'd kind of hoped that we would see before headed into week 2 versus Michigan. Like I said, a game that I definitely think will ultimately be won in the backfield. I am interested to see how the interior defensive line fares against the interior of their offensive line, because while the entirety of their offensive line isn't great, their best linemen are all on the interior. So while I don't think they'll provide a test when it comes to the rushing attack or stopping a run, like I said, I am curious to see how well a few of our rotations will be able to penetrate that interior and see if we'll be able to disrupt the quarterback at all, which brings me to my next point. I fully expect to see PK dialing up the pressure, getting after the quarterback. Texas improved a lot last year when it came to bringing the heat, but we still struggled a little bit too often when it came to actually disrupting the quarterback rhythm and actually completing the play and getting the quarterback on the ground. We saw how guys that move well in the pocket, like a Dylan Gabriel or a Michael Penix Jr., were able to kind of buy themselves enough time with their legs just to pick us apart defensively. And obviously that's very, very frustrating. And I don't want to see that again this season. We saw the increase in pressure last season. We saw how well Sark and PK have beefed up the edge room throughout the entirety of this past off season. So now let's put it all together. Let's have 2 and 2 finally make 4 and put some QBs in hell, because I know I'm ready to see it. And especially whenever we have such question marks on the interior of the defensive line where we don't know how productive they will be, that edge rush is going to be crucial to our success in the 2024 season. So, and also just in general, that Colorado State passing attack is no joke. Like, for real, y'all. My final expectation for Colorado State, and this one just kind of reaffirms my first point, if we're being completely honest, but I fully expect Colorado State to air out air out the ball as much as they can. An interesting note that I found while doing my research is that Colorado State's assistant head coach is none other than Matt Mumme. For those of you that don't know, Matt Mumme is the son of the godfather of the air raid offense himself, Hal Mumme. And I know because it's Colorado State, it's really, really easy for us to kind of scoff and, turn our nose up and just be like, G5, blah, 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 blah. But because, okay, in the grand scheme of things, what is an air raid offense with no legit threat on the outside, right? But I hate to burst a few bubbles because Colorado State actually has some pretty dynamic pass catchers that could cause some problems for our secondary if we didn't make the necessary adjustments that we needed to make from a year ago. One of those guys being senior wide receiver Torrey Horton, who, oh, by the way, just happened to have back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons for the Rams the past 2 seasons. And the other one being a pretty familiar name on the 40 acres in sophomore receiver Armani Winfield, a former Texas commit in the 2022 class, eventually ended up going to Baylor and playing under Dave Aranda, but and obviously it didn't end up working out for him, and he's now in Fort Collins playing for Colorado State. So they have some dudes. They've got some pass catchers. Armani Winfield is a guy that Sark wanted on our roster. Torrey Horton is a guy that many a team would have loved to be able to get out of the portal. So, they do have some dynamic pass catchers on the outside for it to wreak a little havoc if we aren't able to communicate properly on the back end. For those that don't remember, Texas ended the year last year with the 116th ranked pass defense in the entire country. So veteran guys like Jahdae Barron and even a Jalen Gilbo are going to be extremely critical in keeping that offense from stringing together any sort of momentum on Saturday, which is crucial, which is extremely crucial. You want us to go out and get in a rhythm early. That's the whole goal. That's what we want to do. We want to establish our identity early and see where it goes from there. Play our style of football and see where it goes. Quick word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get into some 5-star news, y'all. Game days in the fall are truly my favorite time of year. There's honestly nothing better than walking down Bevo Boulevard on a Saturday evening in Austin, Texas with 100,000 of your closest friends. Whether it's screaming Texas fight in the stands or yelling at the refs, the bright lights of Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium just never, ever get old. And as excited as I am to see what she has in store for us headed into the SEC, I really dropped the ball on getting my hands on some early game tickets, but luckily, all of my issues are solved with Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Gametime app is very user-friendly, and I really enjoy how easy it is to see exactly where your seats are located using their seat view feature. That's one of my favorite features on the entire app. Gametime offers amazing incentives like all-in pricing with no hidden fees at checkout, and they even have a lowest price guarantee. Yeah, guaranteed, y'all. And if it's not, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Oh, goodness, y'all. Goodness. It has been a week. But this next segment, I think I'm gonna start calling this the recruiting roundup, because going in depth and giving y'all names to know just around the country is one of my favorite parts about doing what I do. You know, from watching these guys grow from little high school kids to kind of working their tails off and achieving their dreams in the NFL and even beyond. There's really not anything like it. And I love being able to highlight how talented some of these young guys are. So, what better way to do that than to dedicate an entire segment to them? Now, I know with the season right around the corner, it's easy for us to just look forward to the season, but recruiting never stops. It is a 24/7 game, y'all. 5-star receiver and 4-star Alabama commit out of Jacksonville, Florida, Jamie French, is set to announce his commitment this Friday, August 30th, between Texas, LSU, Tennessee, and Miami. A couple of months ago at the On3 Elite Series, Jamie spoke with On3's Josh Newman and said that one of the biggest parts of his recruitment comes down to the relationships built. And he really, really highlighted how much love the Texas staff has consistently shown him. The staff has made it very, very clear to Jamie from the moment he decommitted and everything. The staff has made it very clear and very known to Jamie that he is as high on their board as anyone. And it definitely seems like that has translated to Jamie in the best way possible. You know, there have been a lot of ebbs and flows in the recruitment of Jamie French. And I feel like that's just kind of the name of the game, especially recently, especially nowadays. Things change on a dime, things change on a whim. You know, at one point, post decommitment, it was Ohio State, Miami, Texas, all kind of leading the charge at one point, at one point or another. But Texas has really maintained their status among his top 2 to 3 schools ever since his visit back in April. You know, wide receivers coach Chris Jackson was said to have made a really good impact on French back then. But as I mentioned before, the Texas staff has just done a very good job of maintaining that relationship and making sure that they stay in contact throughout the entire process. Texas seems to have a very, very good feel about their position in this battle headed into the Friday decision. But what would bringing in a guy like Jamie do for the University of Texas? Well, I mean, for one, it simply adds another top tier receiver to your class. Missing out on Decorian Moore not once but twice was a big, big blow for the staff. It was obviously something that they weren't expecting. And what better way to heal that god awful wound than to follow it up with yet another 5-star receiver? Texas currently only has 5-star Khalid Lockett in the fold right now in that receiver room. So bringing in the number 13 player in the nation would be an astronomical get for Steve Sarkisian and Chris Jackson. And it would actually put together a very, very successful month of August for the Texas Longhorns. Jamie French is a very, very skilled route runner with very strong hands and amazing body control, y'all. His NFL comp is Calvin Ridley, and I just think that makes so much sense. Sitting at about 6'1", 175 pounds, he's not necessarily the biggest receiver. He's not necessarily the biggest receiver of the bunch, but he plays much, much, much bigger, and his ability to fight for positioning and fight for the ball in the air is second to none in the 2025 class. His body control and his attention to detail just make it really, really easy for him to, take what the defense is giving him and create more opportunities where there may not have been one previously. And obviously, Sark loves that in his offense. He loves seeing his guys go up top and use that physicality to come down with the football. So obviously, he fits into the class from a ranking perspective, obviously. But even more importantly, I think his abilities really fit a lot of what Sark just wants to do naturally offensively. So it just makes a lot of sense. And I'm really looking forward to the Jamie French commitment on Friday. Another guy to keep your ears open for is 5-star athlete Michael Terry out of Alamo Heights in San Antonio. This commitment doesn't have an expiration date just yet, but Texas has really come on here later on in his recruitment. Over the past couple of months, Texas has done a really good job of bringing up the conversation and opening up the conversation with Michael Terry in regards to where exactly they see him fitting on the field, where exactly they see him fitting into the scheme. And I mean, at 6'3", 217 pounds, he has a ton of positional versatility, y'all. Like, wow. He's been highly productive as both a receiver and a running back at the high school level. Probably a little more fast than quick, in my opinion, but he's very comfortable catching the football, and that's very, very obvious in the way that he attacks his routes. And he also provides the same physicality on those 50-50 balls as a Jamie French would, but just with a much bigger frame. So this one is seeming like it's going to come down to a Texas versus Nebraska battle. And I can see a lot of y'all rolling y'all's eyes right now, but do not sleep on Nebraska. Nebraska has been in contact with Terry since the very beginning. He's taken multiple visits out to Lincoln over the past year. And the staff at Nebraska has just made it very, very clear that he is a big-time prospect for them, and they're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. So I'm very interested to see how this one ends up, especially whenever signing day does come around. I'm very, very excited to see how the class ends up, just because what a very sad, somber June and July looked like has bled into a very exciting and promising August. So no matter how much we get upset in the middle of the summer, Sark has got it together. He's got a plan, y'all. We just got to trust him at some point. Football season is back, y'all. And for me, that means late nights, early mornings, and nowhere near enough sleep. Whether it's those early morning kickoffs or just having to stay up to watch games on the West Coast, football season is all about the grind, and nobody knows better about that than 5-Hour Energy. Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot to stay alert watching all of your favorite games, or even take one first thing in the morning to start your day off right. 5-Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like yourself have trusted for over 20 years to give them that alert, energized feeling they need to get through those busy, hectic days. You always know where to find 5-Hour Energy shots right next to the cashier at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5-Hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's 5hourenergy.com, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th, applicable on one order only, and cannot be used with other promotions. Offer not valid on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Okay, y'all. Finally, we get to the point where I feel like I'm just going to get to lay it all out there. It is my hottest takes headed into the 2024 season. And some of these may not seem like a hot take, but I'm really, really excited to get into these, you guys. So, number one. Texas has a higher chance of beating Michigan in Ann Arbor than beating Kentucky in Austin. I know that sounds crazy. And now before y'all go ripping my head off for this one, just let me explain. My feelings on this one simply come based off of scheduling. You know, we've watched Sark prepare very well for a week 2 gauntlet the past 2 seasons, and I don't foresee this game being any different. Obviously, the approach is different because Sark knew the inner workings at Alabama a little bit more than he does at Michigan, but we all know how dangerous Sark can be when he has months to prepare. He's an offensive mastermind. Everybody knows it. It is something that people take notice of. Michigan returns a lot of key pieces defensively that will be difficult to scheme around, but Michigan also is bringing in a lot of very new pieces into the mix. You know, a new quarterback, new head coach, new OC, new defensive coordinator. And I just think all of that put together, especially with it being so much earlier on in the season, I just don't feel like it's going to be something that they're going to be able to overcome when Texas comes to town, especially with Texas coming to town with a third-year starting quarterback and a coaching staff that's been together since said quarterback has stepped foot on campus. So with all of that being said, I think Texas will go into week 2 primed and ready for battle as anybody could ever expect. But now, the Kentucky game is interesting because I don't think Kentucky provides the same threat to Texas that Michigan does, obviously. But what they do have in their favor is their game sitting right in between 2 highly emotional, highly anticipated rivalry revamps. You got Texas going to Fayetteville to face the Razorbacks the week before, and then we head to Kyle Field to take on those dang Aggies the week after. So, honestly, I think Kentucky is just good enough to provide the perfect trap game scenario for the Horns in that situation. And we've fallen victim to it before. You know, obviously it wasn't something that we struggled with last year. We didn't fall victim to the snake bite, the rat poison, or anything like that. But I think that game is just very easily one that people can overlook. I think it's very easy to look towards the Arkansas game or look towards the A&M game and completely ignore that Kentucky is actually a pretty decent team that's coming to Austin. So, no. Kentucky is not a better team than Texas, but that game does make me more nervous than the Michigan game does. I got to be honest. And like I said, it's simply just because of timing. Simply just because of timing and the fact that they're not horrible. So there's that. So that is my first hot take. Now, my next hottest take could seem kind of mild to some of you guys, but I don't think Quinn Ewers will miss any time this upcoming season. Wow, shocker. This may, like I said, this may or may not be jarring to some of you, but considering Quinn has not had a 100% healthy season since his sophomore year in high school, I just kind of felt like this was a pretty hot take, if we're being completely honest. We saw Quinn take significant steps forward in the way his body has looked and moved into last season. And I think we've seen even more of that this off season. He's made it a point to talk about how dedicated he's continued to be about his development and making sure his body is in the best shape it can be. And overall, I just feel like we've seen such a big difference in his body composition over the past couple of seasons specifically. So I just have a feeling that this will be Quinn's first fully healthy season in 5 years. Sorry to all you arch truthers out there. Hey, I get it. I'm excited too. His time will come, but I don't think it's going to be this season. So, lastly, my final hot take for the day is that Jaden Blue will win the Doak Walker Award in 2024. I kind of talked on here ad nauseum about how high I am on Jaden Blue. So I feel like this one may or may not come as a shock to a lot of you, but I just really believe in Jaden Blue's abilities. He's so fast. He's so explosive. He hits his holes fast. He hits his holes hard. And I think because there's not really a ton of film out there on him yet, yeah, he saw some significant stats later on last season. So there is a little bit, but it's not a full season's worth of film. So because of that, I think he's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Obviously, there are some very, very good running backs throughout the entire nation. You know, Donovan Edwards is sitting there on the cover of college football and NCAA 25. We're going to see him week 2. So obviously, there are some very good running backs in the country, but I just think Jaden Blue is really, really going to show the world what he can do. And I think he's going to do well as that every down type back. You know, not only am I high on Jaden Blue just as a person, as a player in general, but Sark wants to run the football. The run game is the engine of Sark's offense. That's exactly how the offense gets going, is through the run game. So there's a reason, that Sark has never not had a 1,000-yard running back in his time as a head coach. Jaden Blue is going to get his touches, and I definitely think he's going to make the most of them. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He is an explosive play waiting to happen with the ball in his hands. So Jaden Blue is your 2024 Doak Walker winner. How about that, y'all? That's it for today's show, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you like this video, comment down below some of your hottest takes headed into the season, and subscribe. We love coming on here every day and talking ball with y'all. So come join in on the Locked On family, where we drop new content every single day for all of you very dedicated Longhorn fans. See y'all next time. Hook 'em horns.